Welcome to the Bravehearted Summit. I'm your host, Paola, and today I'm excited to introduce to you Cherry Norris. Cherry's been giving fun, fail-proof tips and life-changing strategies to help women meet quality men and star in their own love life. Whether it's how to meet him, keep him, or leave him, she empowers women to feel their best in love and not lose themselves in the process. Cherry wrote, directed, and produced the internationally acclaimed feature film, Duty Dating. It's a romantic comedy about a woman on the advice of a love doctor who learns how to meet and marry her man. So everything you need to know about men and relationships is in this film. Cherry has free dating videos which are viewed all around the world in over 100 countries across the globe. So welcome, Cherry. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Paola. It's a pleasure.
I'm so excited, and I love to ask this infamous question, and that is, what does leading with your vulnerability in your life, particularly your love life, mean to you? And how has that impacted the way you coach and teach your own clients?
That is a great question. I think as women, most of us, many of us, were raised to put on suits of armor to go out into the world because we were afraid to look ridiculous. We felt that we had to have all the answers. We were afraid of failure. We were afraid of being wrong. We were afraid of being shamed. And so somewhere along the line, being vulnerable was something to be embarrassed about as opposed to embracing. And as a dating coach, as a woman, as an acting teacher, vulnerability is really where the gold lies. And I think it's a gift to yourself to allow whatever comes up in the moment to be revealed as your true, vulnerable, yet authentic, loving place. It's getting out of your head in how you think an idea, you think something should happen a certain way, or you set an end goal, so you think it should go a certain direction in order to attain it, and just surrendering to the what is, still have an intention, but give up the how it's going to manifest and be vulnerable and receptive and available to the process.
Yeah, I love that you said to be vulnerable and available to the process. I think that's a very key word to highlight, because it is a process. It isn't just something that just happens right away, that you just get over whatever it is that's blocking you to love. Explain that and unpack that a little bit for the viewers who are unsure where to start with their love life.
Oh, okay. Well, it is a process. I mean, life is a process. And I believe that we're here to remember parts of ourselves. And we do that in relationship to other people. So everyone that we have energy with has a little piece of our own self that we need to remember. All right? So that's why when you meet a man with and you have such extraordinary chemistry, that man holds a piece of yourself that you need to reclaim and heal. All right? That's why there cannot be any mistakes. There cannot be any failures, really, when it comes to love, because it's just all experience in learning more about who we are as women, as people on the planet. And Paola, I just forgot the question.
That's perfectly fine. All in divine timing, right? So
yes.
Because you said that things that come up for people as vulnerability is
Oh, I know what you said. You were asking, where do women get started? Where do they start? So yeah, it's easy to get up in your head about, oh, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to meet my man. I don't know what site to join. I don't know where to go to flirt. All of these things, blah, blah, blah. I believe that you really just have to set the intention first, that I would like to experience myself in relationship to a man that can bring me to deeper parts of who I am than I can access by myself. Once that is stated, then you can start practical application of deciding to get on an online dating service, or hire a matchmaker, or build your skills, learn about relationships, understand men more, and supply that to your desire, right? It's not insurmountable. I think a lot of women put too much pressure on themselves when it comes to going out and meeting a man and having to be a certain person and hoping the man will pick me, where I believe in turning it around. It's like most of the women I work with have great lives. The only piece missing is that romantic partner to share it with, right? And I think I was guilty of this, giving too much of my power away to a man long ago. I don't anymore. I basically say, like, okay, I've got a great life. What can you offer to make my life better than I can already do for myself? And then I also am skilled enough to know how to allow a man to step in and be able to follow his lead and say yes until it's a no. And I think a lot of women get caught up in their head about an idea of what the man should look like, how much money he should make, these qualifiers that are important. However, they're not the end all to be all. It's just basically, again, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open to the experience of whatever. And the most important mantra of all is to feel good first. You have to feel good, whatever that looks like for you.
That is so true. Mm-hmm. That is so true. Feel good. And I can actually testify to what you're saying personally, because when I went back into the dating world after my divorce, mm-hmm. and I was experiencing, meeting different kinds of men, I definitely felt that it didn't feel right with him. And mm-hmm. I don't know why it doesn't feel right with him, but mm-hmm. I'm paying attention to that because I don't want to feel uncomfortable with him.
Totally.
Instead of like me worrying about how he felt and if he felt okay with me, I really paid attention to that. And that really helped navigate where if I would just end it and move on to the next man. And I know you advocate women to actually date more than one man. And tell us about that and how that created duty dating too, because that movie is about having to date more than one man.
It is. It totally is. Duty dating can be a horrible experience. It's when you're on a date with a man and you're wishing he would choke on a bone or drown in his soup or die on the way to the bathroom. You can't wait till it's over. And my mentor, Dr. Pat Allen, coined the phrase duty dating. And as I was learning this process of how to have a relationship, I just thought that is really hard to date more than one man simultaneously. Because as women, we are more monogamous, and we go prematurely monogamous if we meet a man we like and we put all our attention on him. So duty dating, or dating three men at the same time, goes against our inclination as women. However, it also affords us the opportunity to not get so focused in on one man, and opens us up to experience new men, different parts of ourselves, and see who makes the best offer that we want to accept. Because as women, we're very fickle. we can be stolen easy. If a man doesn't tend us and is good to us, and we can see something else bright and shiny and be attracted to that. So it's not like, to your point, we have to shift our way of thinking, that we have to care about what the man thinks and what the man wants and how the man feels, and pay more attention to the information that's being revealed in our own bodies and go into deeper listening of what that's about. Because as great as it is to have a relationship, and it really is wonderful to have a partner and someone to share life with, it's more important, in my book, that you feel good first. That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And I love that you said prematurely monogamous, that some women kind of go into just that exclusive relationship and focusing on one man too soon. I'm guilty of that. And I remember stopping and bringing awareness to me doing that. And I'm like, why am I settling so quickly? Why do I need to commit so quickly to him?
It's because our bodies bond. So we have to override our body to keep objective. And we bond too quickly when we have sex without knowing what his plan is. And then we're just glued and we can't help it. He walks in the room and we're like, ah, you know, ah, electric socket. And so again, it's not about morals and, you know, rules about when you should have sex. It's really about knowing how to speak up for yourself and know when it's comfortable and safe, and know what the man's plan is, and that he wants to keep seeing you, and that he's not having sex with anyone else, and that he does have an intention for a long term, and it's not just for casual dating and sex in the moment, that kind of.
And I want to highlight that again and repeat that it's a biological thing for women to experience that. It's not like something's wrong with you or that you rush things too soon. Maybe, but not really. But it's a really good point to point out that it's all about paying attention to that and using a different way, a different strategy. And I know you talk about your strategies, and you actually have a strategy to actually get men tripping over themselves to meet women in less than 6 seconds. How do you get a man to do that?
It's a great question. First, keep in mind that a man needs to be signaled, because he doesn't want to fail and he doesn't want to look ridiculous either. And flirting is a very vulnerable thing to do. It's the best we got right now, so we may as well embrace it and have fun with it. In olden days, a woman would give a nonverbal signal, like dropping a handkerchief or tripping the man or something to get his attention. And in our modern day, the easiest way to do this is with a 6-second smile. Now, it's going to feel like 6 hours when you do it, but to just glance at a man and smile is just not enough. That's polite. But to stay in his eyeballs and smile for 6 seconds while he's like trying to figure out, is it me? And you're just like there with your lip on and your sweat. But if you stay in his eyeballs, if he's not married, gay, or dead, you know, he'll typically trip over himself to cross the room to meet you.
I love that, Terry. I love that. That is so true. And I didn't even realize that. I tried that. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, that was quick.
It works.
Yeah, it's true. It's something about giving eye contact to the person where it's kind of like giving them an invitation, like it's okay to approach me.
Totally. I mean, keep in mind, eyes are the windows to the soul. So a man can see in your eyes and sense if you're safe or not.
And I think too that's a really good indication if he's like available or not.
Totally, totally. I mean, I've heard other people give advice of going up and being brave and saying hello to the man and giving him a compliment. And in my world, that's the last thing you want to do, because you don't know if he's married or gay or interested, and then you're stuck. And not only that, you have led the conversation, you have initiated the plan of meeting him, and he'll just sit back and let you do it. And I can't tell you the number of women that say to me, well, I went up and said hello and he didn't even ask for my number. Well, of course he's not going to ask for your number. It's up to you to ask for his number. Bring money, invite him out, because you started out leading the dance, you see. So, second point, once you've attracted a man and he's coming toward you, the thing you do want to do is let him speak first, because that sets it up instantly. His leading, his being the initiator, his being the man with the plan. And it also gives you the opportunity of learning who he is by what he's saying or any questions that he's asking, instead of you're getting caught up in the nervousness and patter and start rambling around and you don't even know who you're performing in front of. You see? So, I mean, I feel like I'm a little all over the place with this.
No, you are right on the money with that. It's a really good way, because that's how women get into their heads.
Yeah.
They get into their heads about like, oh gosh, and you're like, no, this is the process. And, you know, by you doing that, you're actually, you know, evoking it out of him instead of being the masculine and going for it and doing it. You're teaching women how to be feminine and use that power, that feminine power.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's a difference between power and potency. You know, feminine power is not really in alignment. Feminine potency is. Power has no boundaries. Power does whatever it wants. It doesn't care who it steps on. It just has no filters, all right? But potency, that's where the feminine, if there is a power in the feminine, it would be in the potency. And the potency has boundaries. The potency knows how to say no to anything that's harmful or illegal or unethical, or where you need to call a cop, a doctor, or a lawyer, or sex before knowing the plan. You know, anything that doesn't feel good. And I'm not talking about going to a Mexican restaurant doesn't feel good compared to Chinese. I'm talking about really harmful to yourself. And that potency of knowing how to say no, of knowing your line, knowing your boundaries, that's the magic of the feminine.
Ooh, thank you for clarifying that, Cherry. I think that's very important for our viewers to understand the difference between power and potency. And I've never heard it explained like that, and I loved your framing around that. So I'm taking notes. That's really good. Really powerful. Thank you for saying that. And I know that you also have like a next step or strategy of actually presenting yourself, if I could use that word, to the man that you're interested in, to show them that you're girlfriend material, you're wife material,
right?
30 seconds. Like, how do you set that up?
Well, as hard as it is to believe, you set up your relationship in the first 30 seconds of meeting. And it's either a business deal, a friendship, or a date. So, if a man comes up after you've smiled at him and he speaks first and he says, hi, you know, my name's Bob, and you introduce yourself and he says, what do you do? And you start talking about your career, you have set up a business deal. All right, he goes into respect of you and he sees you as a colleague and maybe someone where you can exchange cards and go network together, okay? He'll see you more as a competitor or a colleague. Now, if he comes up and says, what do you do? And you start out by answering, well, I like doing things I enjoy, walking on the beach and going to the movies and going to work out, let's say. And he starts saying, I do too. I love to work out. You know, I love to go walking on the beach. I like movies too. Well, you've attracted a friend. Even though he's come to you, he's not really initiating. And so the conversation turns to, well, what do you like to do? Oh, I don't know. What do you like to do? Well, what do you feel like? Well, I don't know. What do you feel like? And it's like, whew, there's not a lot of romance promoted in a friendship. It neutralizes the chemistry. A third example is the man asks, what do you like to do? And you say, I like going on the beach. I like dancing. I like going to movies. You're giving him ideas of dates where he can take you, where he can join you. The last thing you want to say is, I like reading. I like being by myself. You know, you want to leave a door open for him to come in, right? So I like beach walking and dancing and movies. And he starts saying, well, you know, Broad Beach is the best beach to walk on. And have you tried the new Chinese restaurant down the street? And, you know, this certain film is opening this weekend. Now he's the expert. He's stepping up as a man that is potentially respectable and is going to initiate not only the conversation, but the date, you see. And so that is setting up a date within really the first 15, 30 seconds. And energetically, you feel it, but you can certainly, when you get attuned to it, you can watch it happen instantly. Like turn a romance into a business deal, turn a business deal into a date, turn a date into a friend, you know, if you know how to manage it, which is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I really appreciate you showing the difference, because some people need to hear it, because they're just kind of like, well, I think I'm doing that. And then when you explain it, the differences between the three, there's a big difference in the subtleties.
It's huge. I used to teach live workshops, and we would do mock dates on camera. And these women came in and honestly thought they were doing everything right. And when I showed them the playback and what they were doing, what they were really doing, and they saw themselves and they got it, they were horrified. I mean, they were crying. They were like, I thought I was being so feminine and receptive. I had no idea how often I was interrupting, or how I was leading this, or how I was making him wrong, or how I was trying to be cute and clever, and it ended up being disrespectful. Or I told him what I did, and he totally went in respect, you know? So it's very precise. It really is. And it's a good skill to acquire. It is.
Great insight. So once they get on the date, they do the whole, you know, okay, it's a date conversation, you know, energy, and that potency. How do you know if he's actually romantically interested in you? And you say you can find out in 15 minutes. How do you know?
Because he'll know within 15 minutes if you'll be complimentary to him or competitive with him. And if you're complimentary, he will generally want to see you, and he'll know this within 15 minutes. He'll make a plan. He'll either say, like, oh, well, have you gone to Broad Beach? Well, we should go there, you know. Your cue being, when are you thinking? You see? If he hasn't made a move or asked for your number within 15 minutes, that's your cue to say, thank you so much for the conversation. I need to go now. And if he's going to make a move, that's when he will do it. A lot of women make the error in thinking of, if I stay here and talk, then he'll like me more and he will ask me out. And it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work.
Right. And it really, I think too, that way that you teach your clients is really having him rise to the occasion of like, oh, I better speak up before she leaves, you know?
Totally. Because a woman does not want to waste her time with a man who's not going to make a move, period. You know, no brainer.
And it's almost like we kind of have to like help them a little bit.
Yeah, we do. Well, that's the bigger goal on the planet. It really is. I mean, I believe women are here to be the spiritual guides of the planet, because left to a man's way, we're just going to fight and have sex. And a lot of women through the 60s and burning of the broad, feminism and women's lib, started acting like men, thinking it would get them farther. And it did wonders for our careers, and it did wonders for equality in our world, and we're still, you know, rising to that equality. However, it had a pushback and a penalty for our relationships. There was a price tag for our romance. Mm-hmm. Equality does not promote romance. It just neutralizes the chemistry. And so you can still be, quote, equal, but have the skill to know how to be complementary so you're not stepping on each other's toes, and so you can keep the romance alive without going competitive.
Mm-hmm. That is so beautifully put, Cherry. Wow. Wow. And I think that's important to remember for everyone, whether you choose to be in a relationship or not. You know, our connection with each other, with men and women, you know, really does have an impact on our world, and our world is drastically changing. So I think it's important to just like really, these are like life skills that you're teaching. I mean, it definitely helps in the relationships, but also in life.
Totally. And in my worldview now, and I've been around the sun enough times to know, and I'm still learning. I used to believe, you know, my worth depended on the man I married or the man I was dating or having a relationship at all. And I've come to the realization that no, my worth is just based on my being here. That's it, and just owning it. And I'm the prize, and a man really has to step up and claim me. I'll be open and available for it, but he's got to show up and make it worth my time. You know?
Oh my God. Yes. I love that you said that. I wish I said that. My worth is just being here.
Just being here. Just being here and feeling good.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Right.
That's enough.
I'm
feeling good. Everyone in my life feels better. If I feel like crap, it's going to influence anyone I touch. But if I feel good, it's going to radiate, and others will feel better just having that vibe around them. And that's why, you know, we keep going back to this same premise. You've got to feel good, whatever that takes, whatever it takes. And a man will make you feel good sometimes, but he's not the only solution. There are other ways to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like what you just said about him showing up and saying that he wants to be with you and in a relationship and claiming that and owning that feeling for himself, it really takes you back. I mean, it takes you back like, wow, thank you for showing up that way.
Totally.
Because a woman will show up that way for a man.
Totally. I believe it starts with the woman. I believe that it starts with a woman knowing how to guide a man well, because men are very logical and they will follow if they are guided well. And what happens a lot of times is a woman thinks a man thinks like her, and they don't. They're actually much more simple, and that's a good thing. that we are much more complex. We think and feel at the same time. We have more vocabulary words. We're all over the place in our minds. We can multitask, and typically a man is only able to think on one thing or another. Now, technically, left-handed men, gay men, and ambidextrous men, very feminine men, think like a woman. But a right-handed man can only focus on one thing. And when a woman I don't know that we'll ever understand that because we don't operate like that typically, but when we know how to work with that, it's very useful when it comes to communication and behavior and interacting in a relationship. I think it's invaluable. So that, again, the woman feels good and the man does good for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a perfect harmony right there.
Mm-hmm.
Not balance, but harmony, right?
Harmony.
Between each other.
Mm-hmm. Complementary. Mm-hmm.
Complementary. Why do you do what you do, Cherry?
Oh, the truth is, I had to learn this myself. I was a disaster when it came to love and relationships. That was the catalyst for the making of duty dating, to work it out for myself. I became quite knowledgeable just through making the film. I was using what I was learning on men and on my husband, and girlfriends came to me and said, what are you doing, and how can I do it? And so I started coaching just as a hobby, not as a career. And quite honestly, I didn't even take it that seriously for quite a while. I was doing it. I was building a business, but it wasn't like, oh, I've got to go out in the world and do this. It's something that just evolved, and now it's just become a part of me, a part of my being, a part of my purpose, and I think my premise on the planet. That's kind of how it is.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What is your purpose when it comes to this?
Well, I believe that I can shine a light on the dark sides of relationships and of people that they don't want to necessarily look at, but I can just help them bring it out and look at it and actually embrace it as being part of the whole experience. There's nothing really to be afraid of or ashamed of. When you bring it out and just shine a light, it just dissipates, and it actually adds to your magnificence and to the relationship, to your journey. I think, yeah, if I had a calling, and I've never thought of it in this way until this moment, that it would be to help particularly women, men too, but particularly women, shine, come out, and express all sides.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's funny, I'd like to add to that, because a lot of time when it's shameful, we want to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I experienced heartbreak, I didn't realize how painful it was. And the first thing I wanted to do was close my heart and put up a wall, because I was so hurt by it. But I realized that closing my heart was actually closing to abundance. Mm-hmm. And so it really took a while for me to open it back up, because I was so wounded. But at the same time, I realized that was the best thing I could do, because it made me shine brighter. I was able to overcome that, and I can talk about my experience now. It's not a bad thing or a shameful thing, but to help others with that so that they can come out of whatever they're going through right now.
Totally. I mean, I went through a divorce as well, and I remember thinking, oh, what will this do to my Meet and Marry Your Man brand? And it was like, actually, it was quite funny when you look at it from of course I'm going to have a divorce if this is my brand, because that's going to mix it up. Now, my marriage, in my opinion, was a big success because it was a good time. I mean, my husband and I had a great time. He was French Italian. And when we completed, it was time. And I feel so grateful for the opportunity and the experience, and so grateful that it ended when it did. Just grateful for the experience. And I'm grateful for the time after the divorce. I'm grateful that I ended up leaving Los Angeles. I'm in Tennessee now with my mother. I'm moving to the coast of South Carolina next fall. I mean, all these things have opened up that never would have had I stayed married. And I really thought that would be the end of my career, you know, coaching women, and the opposite has happened. It's actually broadened. And I'm grateful again and blessed that it's still here, which also informs me that there's a purpose here. You know, it's not my head saying, oh, I have to have this. It's a more of a heart calling of, this is what I'm here to do, to serve. Yeah.
That's beautifully put. Thank you for saying that. It was a heart calling. It still is a heart calling.
It still is. But I think, you know, after going through what you're describing, what we're going through, we actually can access those places in ourselves that we couldn't have even had conversations about had we not gone through it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that gift. I'm so glad that you shared that and being vulnerable enough to say that as a coach, you know, because, you know, people look up to you and they're, you know, people have this idea of you, like you've got this all figured out, when really you're human too, and you're just as much as vulnerable as they are.
But I think, you know, to that point, the vulnerability is where you really want to cultivate. You know, I think people now, we resonate with others who come forth in their, well, authenticity. It's such an overused word, but I don't know another way to say it. To come forth with who they really are, instead of pretending to showing a side of themselves that is the face for a perception. I don't know if that's clear.
That is clear.
But yeah, I think that's the vulnerability is where the magic lies, without a doubt.
Okay.
That's where real emotion is. Mm-hmm.
Beautifully put. Thank you so much for that, Cherry. Speaking of gifts, I know we have a very special gift for our audience tuning in and watching our interview till the very end. So please, Cherry, what is that special gift?
Well, I have a 3-part video series that I've actually gotten actors together, and they demonstrate some of the work, so it's not just me talking all the time. The first video is how to attract a man in 6 seconds, and you can see choices of what happens when you do it different ways, and so you can make your own choices, how to get him romantically interested in 15 minutes. The second video is what you do on a disastrous date to turn it into a dream date. And oftentimes we can go out with a new man and we like him, and then he'll say or do something that is a little off-putting or kind of out there. So this is a way to just get it back on track without overreacting or shutting down to him. And the third video is sex and commitment. You know, how do you know when it's safe to have sex? How do you require a commitment? And again, all of it is demonstrated with really fine and fun actors so that you can watch it and hopefully use some of what you're learning on your next date.
Wow, thank you. That is so generous of you, Cherry. Thank you so much for, gifting that. We will have the link below the video. All you need to do is just click on it. It'll take you to the next page to enter your information and download it right away. And copy the link, share it with your friends. It's very juicy stuff. So
it's good stuff.
Very much of a gift. So thank you so much, Cherry, for that gift.
You are welcome, Paola. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Thank you for being here. I'm very grateful, and lots of love to you, Cherry.
Thank you.